Hi, my name is Precious Lee. I have Hidradenitis Suppurativa, HS for short. I've had the condition since I was 13, so it's going on 26 years now. I remember being a teenager, sleeping in a big white t-shirt, and it was hot and just muggy. And I just felt this pain under my arm, and I didn't know what it was. I saw the bump, and I was like, maybe this is something from shaving? I don't know. And it opened, and I just remember turning the light on, and all I saw was this big red spot on my white shirt. And I was like screaming, like, Mom, what is this? I don't know what to do. So we went to the emergency room, and the doctor that happened to be there was also a plastic surgeon. And he said, I know what this is. And he was able to tell us that it was HS. And at the time, also, my mom's face kind of dropped because she was aware that my father had it, and she helped treat him. And she didn't realize that I had, was going to be diagnosed with it as well. So that was a difficult time realizing what that was. But it took a while for me to actually see a specialist for this, even though I had a doctor who was well versed in it. And eventually I saw a surgeon who was well versed in it. I didn't actually see a dermatologist until around 2019 when I met Dr. Jalil at IDEOM. Look at you. Treatment in the beginning, it was a lot of lancing and a lot of minor surgeries to really alleviate the pain and the pus and everything that comes along with HS. So there's a lot of going back and forth. I remember driving a lot from like Somerset, which is like middle of New Jersey, to Bloomfield, which is closer to like northern New Jersey. My mom would have to take off work. I missed a lot of school. I remember specifically I had been cast as the chorus in ragtime, and I was so excited about that. But I kept missing so many practices because I had to keep getting lancings and things done that they had to cut me from the group. And I mean, as a teenager, you're like, oh, that hurts. That's like your whole life. Yeah, I just remember so many different being in and out of the doctor's office, outpatient surgeries and things. Even at college, my mom had to drive down to Virginia one time because I had to go to the infirmary, and they had to perform a procedure in which he didn't numb me enough, and I felt everything, and it was just a mess. Until 2010, I ended up seeing purple in my pinky. And they had let me know, typically with HS, like, I had really bad stage 3 under my axilla and my underarms. And they were telling me about the major surgery they could do to remove my sweat glands and the hair follicles. And I'm in school, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to need 6 months for skin grafts, and I'm going to need another 6 months to heal. I'm away at school. How is that going to work? And so I put it off for a long time and just did a lot of natural remedies and things that I was just used to. And then one day at work, I felt a pain differently than I did before. And I looked down, and my pinky was purple. And I said, oh, surely that can't be good. So I went to my primary doctor. She lifted my arm, and as soon as she did, she looked me in my face and said, you need to go to the emergency room. So when I went there, that's when they let me know that the infection went to the second layer of my skin. And at that point, bloodstream, things get involved, and you have to really act fast. And that's where I met Dr. Amagwu in New Jersey. And he was well versed in HS. He knew immediately how to treat it. He even told me, he said, we don't have to do any skin grafting. You have enough skin under your arm. We can just push it back together. And to this day, people see my scars and they think they're beautiful because he did such an amazing job in taking care of me and my HS. So even though the story started off really rocky as far as my treatment, it ended on a really nice note. And now with Dr. Jalil as my primary dermatologist for my HS, it's actually in remission, and I'm doing very well now. So I first heard about IDEOM through Dr. Nagar Falad, who was a fellow working with Dr. Jalil as well, fellow doctor. And she just saw my chart, and she said, hey, I don't know if you'd be interested in doing something like this, but this is what they do. This is what happens. And I said, oh, I'm an advocate, and I'm looking to be more vocal about my story. So I think this would be a good way to join an organization that does that. And so that's how I got started with IDEOM. It's been 3 years now. So. I remember my first year here at IDEOM. I didn't know what to expect. It was a lot of medical jargon that I did not know what it meant. And there was one instance where they were presenting and some images came up on the screen, and I hadn't seen myself like that, or I hadn't seen HS like that in a very long time. And it actually triggered me, and I had a little bit of an anxiety attack, and I was just like crying. I felt bad for overreacting in my head. But then I remember Charlotte in particular, Charlotte and Carrie Harris and Charlotte Rogers, they came to me, and Angie as well, and pretty much like surrounded me, and just like everybody really was like, are you okay? They took me to the care room. They let me cry it out. They cried it out. And then they advocated for me too. And they said, hey guys, maybe we should put a disclaimer or just do something. So not only just making sure that I was okay since it was my first time as a person, making sure I was okay as a patient, but then also taking that a step further to make sure that nobody else had that same reaction moving forward. So, and IDEOM was very receptive to that as well. I would definitely say the relationships here from as a result of attending IDEOM are huge. I've met people that have never met another person with HS. And just to be able to have a community of people with the same condition, even though we experience it in different ways, we have that similarity, that thread that we can speak to and that we can recognize in each other. We know, like, we can see if someone's getting too tired during the meetings or they need a break, or if we need to grab them some water, just taking care of each other, because we're out in the world as individuals and we're the rare people in the world that we have to explain what this is. People don't know. It's a hidden condition, so they can't tell that even though you see the smile on my face, I'm going through pain. But to be in a room with people who can get you is just so important, so needed. My goal as a patient research partner is to be an example. I always like to say I have HS. HS does not have me. I may not have been the first person to say it, but I live by that because there was a time in my life where I was really depressed at a very young age, and just dealing with puberty, dealing with being overweight, dealing with being just a Black person in America, a woman, just all those things. And then you sprinkle HS on top of it. It just made it very difficult to try to figure out who I was. And once I learned to understand that HS is not the totality of who I am as an individual, as a human being, then I said, okay, you know what? This is just something that exists within me. And even though I'm going through this and it hurts and it sucks and I don't want to have this and I don't wish this on anyone, let me take up the arm of saying something about this, because there's a little girl out there who feels the same way that I felt, and she may not have supportive parents, she may not have friends, she may not have anyone to look to, but if maybe she heard my story or read it or saw my picture or was able to see IDEOM because I posted it, maybe that could help her, have a better time with it than I did. Shout out to everyone who is a part of IDEOM. And if you're not, what are you thinking? Come on, you need to join. You need to go on to dermoutcomes.org and you need to sign up, because this is the place for you.